may be seated. All right. Before I go any further, I'd like to announce that Councilmember Bublak is participating via teleconference from Las Vegas, Nevada. Councilmember Bublak, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on. This is a great item. Ignacio Torres. Ignacio, where are you? Come on up. Give him a round of applause. He is our Employee of the Month. I was going to give you Employee of the Year. Sorry, that's a typo.
I'm working on that one.
Absolutely. So I'm going to say some really cool, flattering things about you right now. Okay. Okay. Ignacio Torres is our electronic instrumentation technician from Municipal Services Electrical Mechanical Maintenance Division. Ignacio Torres has been named the City of Turlock's Employee of the Month for June 2018. Ignacio Torres was nominated for his attention to detail, willingness to assist and address all departmental requests and needs without hesitation, and continuously improve the telemetry systems. I don't even know this stuff. At the Regional Water Quality Control Facility and the various remote sites located throughout the city. His friendly and positive attitude make work enjoyable and fun for those who have had the pleasure of interacting with him. His communication and his willingness to go above and beyond has helped foster and improve cross-departmental teamwork. With nearly 20 years of electrical, instrumentation, and programming experience, Ignacio joined the city's Electrical Mechanical Maintenance Division in 2016. He has an associate's degree in electronic engineering and is currently pursuing his bachelor's degree in business management. Personal hobbies, let's get into this. All right, Ignacio enjoys in playing softball throughout the week and occasionally on weekends. He and his fiancee, Candace, is she here?
No, she's not.
Okay, wave to her. She's somewhere. Yeah. Enjoy spending their free time watching and attending sporting events, taking their two dogs for walks, runs, and finding, visiting, and sampling food and drinks from the many craft brewery establishments located in and outside of California. Congratulations, Ignacio.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Here's your pen. There we go.
All right, all the time. We'll do.
Here is your certificate. Cool.
Thank you.
You have to speak. We make speak.
Oh, man. Well, didn't have a speech prepared, but I just want to say it's been really welcomed leaving the private sector and joining the public sector. Should have done it years ago, but never, better late than never, I guess. I definitely want to thank my director for always putting me in a position to succeed. And I work with a great team, so it makes coming to work easy and fun. So yeah, I'm just going to keep doing what I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very cool. Seriously. Keep this cool. Thank you. All right, perfect. Now I'm going to ask Glenna Jackson. Where did Glenna come? Come on up for the Pet of the Month. Give her a round of applause. All right.
She didn't think I needed 2 mics, so.
You don't. You don't.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. It's always a pleasure to bring the Pet of the Month to you. Remembering that the Pet of the Month is sponsored by our Turlock Management, Police and Fire Division. Includes spay and neuter, microchip, rabies shot, first year's license for the City of Turlock residents. This is last month. This is June. She was adopted the next day. This is with her new family. And this month is our new dog, Liberty. Liberty's been with us since May. She came with a litter that was abandoned at Donley Park. They actually got very sick while they were with our shelter, and our excellent team got them healthy, and now she is spayed, 4 months of age, ready to go, looking for a new home. Through this month, last month we had the microchips that we were giving away. It was a really good, well-received program, and in support of getting those animals home for 4th of July, we've extended that promotion so you can still get microchips for your pets through this month of July as well. And then we are kicking off our spay and neuter program, which will hopefully be accepted. We have vouchers to the City of Turlock residents for $50 that you can purchase for your dogs. There is no breed restrictions. There is weight restrictions, but no breed restrictions. That includes getting your animal spayed and neutered, a microchip, a rabies shot, and your first year license. So this is a very good deal, and it can be used at 4 of our participating vets. You do have to bring your pet with you to the shelter to obtain the voucher, and then you have 2 months to use it at one of the vet's offices, and then we'll send you the license after that. So again, we like everyone to come and visit us. We do have over 70 dogs at our shelter right now because we've been impacted with the 4th of July, so we have quite the variety. Please come see us at the shelter at 801 South Walnut, Monday through Saturday, 10 to 2. Have any questions?
All right, any questions or comments for Glenn Jackson?
No.
Thank you so much to you and your team. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Give a round of
Thank you.
applause for all her hard work. All right, before I move on, I'd like to also introduce Kate Cook from the City Attorney's Office, knowing that she's covering tonight's meeting for the interim City Attorney. Thanks for joining us. Special briefings, we have none. Public participation, this is the time set aside for the public to address the council on any item that they'd like. They have 5 minutes. There are blue cards in the back if you could fill those out. Please state your name and your address for us. I do have a few blue cards here, so let's start off with Ms. Diane Bartlett. Come on up. 2 times in one evening.
Yes,
It's exciting.
absolutely. Thank you. And thank you so much. I really shouldn't be here because my children's librarian really should be the person here because the reason I'm here twice is I was at the joint Parks and Rec Commission meeting along with City Council because we participate in the summer camps, and really that's Michelle Coxford, my children's librarian. So she really should have been here, but when I left to attend the other meeting, she was engulfed in multitudes of people creating slime.
Good.
That's how busy we are at the library. Yes, and thank you so much, Mayor, for joining us for our special family story times that we usually try to have quarterly. Kids really love listening to you read the stories, and that, again, is because Michelle has such fabulous children's programs. Continuing with that, we have programs for kids every Tuesday and Wednesday at 4 o'clock. In the next few weeks, we'll be having string art, Lego Day, and our ever-popular Harry Potter party on July 31st. We'll be adding some special events. We'll be attending herbology classes, and we'll find out what our patronuses are, so don't miss that. And on Wednesday, we're traveling the world, learning about different things. We'll be going to Scotland this week, and then we'll make a trip under the sea the following week, and after that, we're going into outer space. And then finally, we're going to end up in France on August the 1st. So lots of children's programs coming up, but we haven't forgotten the teens. Our Teen Advisory Board meets this week, Wednesday at 4 o'clock. And for adults, we have our Caregiver College in partnership with Community Hospice. That's going to be Thursday the 12th at noon. And they do like you to sign up, so you can find out more information by calling us at 664-8100 or visiting our website, stanlibrary.org. And our Mystery Lovers Book Club for adults meets this Friday the 13th at 10:30. And then we'll be having a trivia contest on the 16th at 6 p.m. Our theme is Where in the World? So whether it be somewhere in the world or somewhere right here around Turlock, get your team together and compete against other teams for fabulous prizes in the world of trivia. And then finally, if you are at all artistic, or even if you're not, please participate in our bookmark contest in celebration of 25 years of the library being on Minaret, and 50 years of being on Minaret, and 25 years for the Friends of the Turlock Library. Create your bookmark, and if you're chosen, it will be duplicated and handed out during Friends of the Library Week in October. One of a kind bookmark. And our judges will be Mayor Soyseth and Jeannie Ferrari, who I'm sure you all know from her many community efforts, and Hope Warness, Professor Emeritus from the Art Department at CSU Stanislaus. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bartlett. Absolutely. And here's to 50 more years at that site at Minaret, huh? Yeah?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, Gurjabin Hire? H-A-Y? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Gore here, President of Theta Chi Fraternity at CSU Stanislaus. Recently, I just have to come up here to apologize. There was a mess of litter boxes and trash left our fireworks booths on Gear and Falkirk recently, right after 4th of July. It was spread on neighborhood watch platforms and the pages. And I'm here to simply say that's my responsibility and that's my mistake. There was a miscommunication among us and the cleanup crew. Normally we clean up on the night of the 4th or the very next day, but this time it was my mistake, which was delayed all the way till Sunday. I just want to say that we don't condone such behavior, and that was a laziness on our part, and that such a matter will never occur again. As I hope this doesn't change your image of fraternities in your city, as this is your community as well as our community, and we care to keep it as clean as you guys have kept it for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, by that statement, I hope if anyone has a negative connotation or opinion about fraternities, hopefully it's reversed by you coming and apologizing proactively about leaving the trash. So thank you so much for all your hard work. Give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council on ADM? Yes, Mr. Franson.
Yes, good evening, council. I wanted to talk about roads and the Measure L funding, along with additional possible funding. I've been seeing in the news lately about people questioning when work's going to get started, what's going to be done, and I've heard few projects I think that are supposed to start. One being West Main, maybe I think Monte Vista, and I'm not sure exactly which other ones. But my concern is some of the news being presented or people discussing it is that essentially Measure L, which was the road tax for Stanislaus County, is going to bring in, close to $1 billion in the next 25 years. And essentially that's already guaranteeing every paving company we have essentially like more business than they could handle probably. So you're seeing, if we just go with basic supply and demand, why would any company lower costs, even, I don't know how many bids that we see in an average project, but it can't be that many because there's not that many paving companies around here. How are we going to address the $1 billion guaranteed work out there along with other reasons for increased costs? And in the news, in Mod B, they did a story on how the cities are spending the money, which cities are going. I believe Oakdale has been given the most credit for being smart about their jump on being prepared and getting projects going. Turlock, not so much. But according to you, Mayor, you were just saying that we have to compete with other cities to get these paving companies and jobs going. So this is just off the start. I'm sort of wondering what we can do about moving on in the future if this is a known issue. So all the cards are shown already. How can we get a jump on this? I'm not sure what the legal options are, but I know that with rates, say is like with the water rates, the city can go and get a bond for the money up front and then pay that back. I don't know if that's going to be the correct term because I don't know what's legal, but a bond, a loan, or whatever. If there's some way to get a loan and get that money up front, because we do have a guaranteed revenue source through the revenue taxes collected, even on a low end, but right now we're even brought in more than was expected, so that's good. But if we could say get 50 million, 100 million, we go ahead and book those projects now, book those paving companies now, possibly lock in prices, even with contingencies allowed for cost of living increases, inflation, whatever. And it could go down or up, by the way, but I think that would be something that might be a little forward thinking. And just lock up all the paving companies, lock up all the projects, get them all slated to go, and get the money up front so that we can get ahead of everyone else. And then also another thought that I had was, I don't know if the city of Turlock is currently looking into potentially having an actual paving crew, but with 25 years of money, and I don't know, what was the Turlock's share of that supposed to be?
I think, roughly it's about 15% of the countywide sales taxes based off sales tax revenue, so it can fluctuate a little bit. I believe it's $73 million over the course for just local roads. There's not the matching of the
Right.
roads and all of that.
Okay, so if we had that much work to do, though, maybe the city might want to look into, creating its own paving company. You're talking about 25 years worth of work. That's probably more guaranteed work than a lot of other services we're offering, especially tied to a revenue source. But I don't know about getting equipment, an actual crew, because I've even talked to people here locally with business, even looking to buy a paving company. And there's just not that much out there. So if that's the position we're in, then I think we can't just settle on right now it is what it is. because all the cards on the table, it doesn't look good, and we're going to be leveraged like majorly with costs and just supply and demand. So those are some things to think about if you would consider it, if city staff could look into some options. And also another sort of hybrid version as far as the city doing a crew or getting the equipment to do it is possibly seeing if private, if you know, private businesses or even if there's residential neighborhoods, if they could tack on to a scheduled work crew. So it's not necessarily a government job, which has prevailing wages and such. If it's a thing that, if we already booked the paving crew out here on a job, could not private citizens say, hey, we're just down the road, if we pay for asphalt, whatever, and it's their own contract, then they could do that, and that might be something paving companies might be willing to consider, and then we're really getting more bang for the buck as we're having a basically private additional investment if the city can get those companies here. Anyways, I'd appreciate if maybe we could look into that stuff. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Mr. Franson. Anybody else from the audience like to address the council? Yes.
3040 Augsburg Court, Michael Puffer. This is just a quick question about the mayoral race. Is it decided by plurality or by majority vote? Is there a runoff if nobody gets a clear majority?
There's no runoff. It's just November.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's whoever gets +1 votes.
Okay, just wondering. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great question. And if you have any other electoral questions, City Clerk, you'd be able to answer them?
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments for the council? Oh, yeah, Mr. Chiesa? Supervisor Chiesa, sorry. So informal tonight.
I noticed that they only get you from the waist up, so
Yeah, right.
it's like the newscaster with his shorts on, right?
Right.
Mr. Mayor, fellow council members, pleasure to be here. Vito Chiesa, supervisor representing the city of Turlock. A couple of things, and I'm going to try and, Mr. Franz, I think I can answer a couple of your questions, and really interesting ideas. And first I want to go back to our librarian, Diane Bartlett. Back in 2009, originally there was the Rennings. Everyone knows the Rennings. Pat Portwood had hit me up, the Ferraris, and said that we need to do something about the Turlock Library. It's undersized for a city of 70,000 plus people. At the time, I think it was about 68,000. And I was preaching patience because we still had debt on the library. And Salida, as you know, we paid that off. I know the council knows this. I don't know the public does. And we're in design build phase right now for expansion of the Turlock Library. And it will be a substantial improvement. Then we're going to improve the current library, but we're going to add on to the south. Exciting times there, and it's not going to be your regular library. I met with a constituent who was actually using the library for their job through a portal site, and it was very interesting. So there's a lot of things. Again, it's not just about programs in there. It's not just about books. There's lots of other things. You can learn languages while sitting at home, and but a lot of exciting things happening. Two things I want to talk about. First is the SED, the Substitute Environmental Document. Everyone knows it as the unimpaired flows on the river. The Tuolumne River is what we're concerned about, but it's both the Merced, Stanislaus, and Tuolumne rivers. The State Water Board released their revised SED, as they call it, and it was released on Friday. Of course, they picked another holiday weekend, as they did in the previous, when they had the hearing in Modesto on December 20th, which was a holiday weekend, where we got over 1,000 people to show up. I want everyone to understand that we generated 6,589 comments. There was more than 40 hours of testimony. Yeah, that's.
I agree.
And this was to try and improve what it is that the State Water Board thinks they're trying to do. And that's improve the fisheries, improve the health of the river. And I would tell you that TID, MID, Merced Irrigation District, OID, and South San Joaquin have exactly the same goal. They think that they have a better plan. I can tell you after all of that, when they released the document, all 3,581 pages, and all of those comments, they changed nothing. They didn't take a single comment from anyone here in this valley, and I think that speaks volumes of what we're up against. There's one appendix, so it doesn't do any good now at this point for you to send in more comments. They're only taking comments on Appendix K, having the attorneys look to see if there's really anything in there. that we might comment on, but it's 80 pages out of that whole document. If you send in a comment, they're going to reject it if it's not specifically about K. So where does that leave us as a county, as a board, and as 3 counties really? And I can tell you we're trying to formulate a plan with TID obviously as the lead and MID. They handle the resource, they handle the reservoir, Don Pedro. So we're trying to formulate a plan. We're looking at a rally in Sacramento, not during the hearing. We will be wasting our time going to the hearing, I can tell you that, because they didn't change their mind. They're going to rubber stamp it on August 21st and 22nd is when the hearing's scheduled. They did only give us 21 days for that K, Appendix K to comment on. But we're gonna try and do something maybe the Monday before, maybe the 20th. That's what we're looking at. We're still trying to iron the details. But this is gonna have to be a collective effort. I'm telling you, if we're going to change, it's not going to be changing their mind. We're gonna have to go to the legislature. We're going to have to look at other avenues. I can tell you that Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors on our Tuesday agenda meeting, we're going to set aside $50,000. I know that Modesto's talking about doing the same. And we're gonna take the fight to someone else. This isn't a lawsuit, MID, TID, these people will be involved if something is filed. This will be educating people as to the economic devastation, the true toll on people, disadvantaged communities that it will do here in the valley. We are already twice the national unemployment rate, twice the poverty rate, and we can just go twice just about everything. And this will keep us in that for the foreseeable future. So we're gonna have to be ready to fight. We have a meeting coming up with Merced County and San Joaquin County. I will be reaching out to all of the cities. I know that the mayor and I have talked about this. The other thing I wanted to talk about really quickly is Measure L. Really interesting. Last year when the measure was passed in November of 16, but money wasn't collected till March, which means the Board of Equalization didn't give money till June, which really shows up the 1st of July. So there was no money, and you have to bid projects out in the springtime.
You can continue, Supervisor.
I'm rolling right now.
I think it's okay.
So if you didn't front end load essentially your own money that you had, it was almost impossible to do a project last year. Oakdale was able to do it. Stanislaus County fronted the money. There were a few ways to do it, but by and large, the reason projects weren't done last year in wholesale is because there wasn't enough money collected, and you would have had to take it out of some sort of reserve in order to do it. So this year we're hitting, and I would agree with Mr. Franson that it's not just the Measure L, the $41 million of Measure L. There's also the SB1. It's been a huge influx of money in state projects, statewide projects. So there is a captive audience, and we're the captive audience, but the work is still getting done. I will tell you that we had figured in $38 million over 25 years. The first year came in at $41.4 million, which is about another $430,000 of local fix-it-first money for Turlock. I think that's what I figured out. And Turlock has a big advantage in Measure L in that they're about 13.3% of the population, but you're 15.3% of the sales tax base. That's because of Monte Vista Crossings, a large regional shopping center, and a great downtown. So you have an advantage over other towns and the county in general. So good things going on. I want to point out also at the Folkerth Road interchange, and I know that the mayor has talked about this a little bit, but there, through SB1, there's something called the Local Partnership Program. Some of the money is subvented down straight to the COG at the Council of Governments, Stan COG, of which the two of us sit on it, and that money is for the choosing of the 14, 15, you gotta tell me, 16 board members to decide where to spend that money. It was $2.43 million, all of it went to the Folkerth Road interchange, 100%, and then there's a competitive pot through SB1, through the local partnership program, and Turlock was successful for $3.09 million. So $5.5 million for the Folkerth Road interchange. It was the only shovel-ready project in all of Stanislaus County. Think about this. You know, you think about all these road projects, but there wasn't money available for planning documents except for Folkerth. Turlock did a good job of planning and preparing and starting to buy right away. So it will be the first project. I know the timeline has slipped a little bit, and I've seen the mayor get on Caltrans and so we're looking about September for a groundbreaking, right? Is that about what we've decided with Caltrans? So exciting times. It will be the first project, but you can see other projects that maybe aren't in Turlock. You know what your major L projects, but you look, the Gear, Albers, what I consider an expressway, we're signalizing Santa Fe and Gear. It's about ready to start in construction. They just finished the pipe, and that's funded, a third of it was funded through Major L. We're doing Whitmore and Gear Road, so it will be signalized from Turlock city limits all the way to Oakdale, signalized. Exciting times. We just finished the stoplight on Faith Home and Keys Road. We're going to put another one up on Carpenter and Whitmore. We have lots of good things happening, and just talking about other monies coming in, we talked about the local partnership program. We got a $9 million federal infra grant because we had the Major L match. We got a $21 million trade corridor grant. These are for Highway 132. That was because we had a local match. Local partnership program, $5.4 million for Turlock. STIP had gone away. We're getting $17 million through the COG. TIRCP grant, if you're an ACE advocate like I am, or a San Joaquin Amtrak advocate, we got a $500.5 million grant to improve service to Sacramento. It's with equipment and everything, and it's coming down to series, and one of the largest awards ever. And then we also, Turlock, the county, lots of people have in for ATP, which is called Active Transportation. We're not going to hear till midsummer, but a lot of exciting things happening in transportation. The price is going to go up on the bids. Bonding is an option. Mr. Franson, I wanted to let you know that we've talked about it on the 28%, which is the regional money set aside. We haven't come to any consensus. Everyone has an opinion on it, but municipalities do have the ability to bond on the construction because its sales tax is very highly rated and the interest rates are pretty favorable, but it's always a topic of discussion. So I think that's it. Timeline. I'm just making sure I covered everything. That's it. SED. No greater threat to the economy of Stanislaus County, Merced County, and San Joaquin than the taking of our water. Just remember that, and we will be in touch. You can sign up, follow Worth Your Fight. That would be the best place. They're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can get information through them. Barbara?
When did you say might be a possible time for the rally?
20th. We're trying of August, the day before. Yeah. Any other questions?
I feel like we warped into a county supervisor's meeting just now. I like it. Good job. Good job.
Oh, the other thing. Can I say one more?
Sure, Chairman.
I think
Go for it.
through the COG, but this is going to be really through the mayor's meeting. I think there's one. There's probably an opportunity because we've shared money before between either cities or the county or the city. If you can't complete a project in that year, you don't get it. You don't get out to bid in time. Trading money for a year. I know we've done it in the past. It's all about the color of money, but it's all the same, right? When it ends up in pavement. And I think that either through the COG or through the mayor's group or something, we have to talk about when someone's ready for a project, just like Folkerth, everyone's got to rally around because everyone wants to turn dirt. Even though someone from Oakdale may say that Folkerth Road isn't an improvement for them, it really is. At some point, it's an improvement for them. Any money we bring into this county is money that used to go out because now we have matching source. So exciting times. Thank you very much. Thanks for letting me go over the time.
Thanks so much, Supervisor. Give a round of applause for its hard work. Perfect. Any additional comments or questions? All right, moving on. Closing public participation. Declaration of conflicts of interest and disqualifications. Anything left and right? Did I hear anything? All right, seeing none. Disclosure of top 10 maximum contributors is within the agenda. The consent calendar. Are there any items to be removed from the consent calendar? Anything left, right? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the council? Do I have a second? We have a motion by Vice Mayor Jacob, second by Councilmember Scare. Clerk, please call the roll.
Adopting the consent calendar. Councilmember Escare.
Yes.
Councilmember Dehart.
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak.
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob.
Yes.
Mayor Soiseth.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. We have no final readings, no public hearings. Scheduled matters. A request to determine the closure for the Pittman preview of Champions Band Review hosted by Pittman High School Band Boosters is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, and approve a special event permit application for the Pittman preview of Champions Band Review. Dr. Van Gilder.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. The item before you is a request for a special event permit and associated street closure. This is for the Pittman High School Band Review that is scheduled to take place, September 29th. The closure, that's a Saturday, the closure will actually extend between 7 a.m. in the morning and 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And speaking with representatives from the boosters tonight, their goal this year is to hopefully have 30 bands come into our community to display their talent and skills. And it has been, it's a newer event for our community, and it's been really well received. We've had lots of participation. We know that we are encouraging more visitors to come into our community, and so the Special Events Permit Committee has reviewed this application. We've taken into consideration their requests and the impacts of the event, and what is before you tonight is the closure that will essentially be located at Mountain View, it's the closure of Sandstone Street between Mountain View Road and Tegner Road, and then Tegner Road between Sandstone Street and Golden Oak Court. And as I mentioned earlier, it's from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. We have had our public safety departments weigh in on this, as well as our traffic safety engineering division weigh in on this. And so tonight, with the provisions that we've identified in the staff report, the committee is recommending approval of the event and the associated closure. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions, comments for Director Van Gilder? Are there a few boosters in the crowd that would like to?
I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to come on up and do a little presentation?
This is my Vanna White, TJ.
Nice,
I'm going to show you our poster for our event. Good evening. My name is Patty Allen, and as president-elect of Pittman High's Marching Band Boosters, I want to thank the council and other city departments that have been integral in helping us to plan a safe and successful first annual Pittman High School Preview of Champions Band Review last September 2017. To give you an idea of what our band review looks like, we had over 20 marching bands participate from all over Central and Northern California in our marching competitions and drumline competitions. We parked over 70 buses and support vehicles in Pittman High School's parking lots. We hosted over 3,000 marching band students, including some of our favorites, the 180-member Pittman Marching Pride and Color Guard. Thousands of parents came from out of town to watch, see our campus at Pittman, and visit our beautiful city. Local vendors came out, like Rita's Italian Ice, Oak Barrel Creamery, and more. And to say that we sold lots of hamburgers and hot dogs that day is an understatement. Can we show a video? This is some video from last year's preview. Okay, so again, today we come before you kindly asking and appreciating your approval to allow us to close off Sandstone and Tegner with the recommendation of city staff. We hope you come out. Gary is going to start us off. He's going to welcome the crowd that morning. He's actually is going to give a special mayor's award. We're excited for that to happen this year. And we have VIP seating for all of the council. We'll be sending you invitations and many of the city staff. That said, our work isn't done. In November, we look forward to getting an early start working with city staff and planning. You see, our goal is to have this parade and review on Christopherson Parkway. We've heard no before, just a couple of weeks ago, and we know we face hurdles. But we believe great things don't happen when we lay down in front of our obstacles, but when great people find ways around their obstacles. We believe this event can be a crown jewel for this city. Instead of showcasing a weed-filled side street no one ever uses, this event deserves to be front and center, showing off the great bands and letting the city of Turlock show off one of our beautiful streets. I hope you noticed in the video, we showed Pleasanton, we showed Stockton, we showed Elk Grove, and some of the great roads they used. Stockton closes Benjamin Holt Drive. Pleasanton closes down their main street. Turlock, we have a great event, and we believe that we should do the same. This event brings in thousands of people who are going to spend the day or evening in Turlock shopping and dining and after following this event. Turlock, let's put our best foot forward next year. We're happy to accept your approval of closing Sandstone and Tegner this year, but get ready, planning staff, we're going for Christopherson next year. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Give a round of applause. Thank you.
Patty.
All right. I don't know, Mr. Bray, if you're prepared to kind of speak to some of the hurdles with why Christopherson was not allowed this year, or how about this? Do you want me to let you work with staff and come back later on? Okay, sounds good.
That would be preferred.
I'm not putting you on the spot. No, absolutely not. Yeah. Director Van Gilder, yeah.
Mayor, we actually have Sergeant Hall, who sits on our committee, who evaluated that request originally. If that's something that council would like more information on?
Absolutely, that'd be great, yeah.
He's here tonight.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. Yeah, the decision that was made for the no on Christopherson was something that Police Department, Fire Department, the whole committee, it wasn't a decision that was made quickly or lightly. This was given a lot of thought, just to let you guys know. In discussions with that committee, the problem with Christopherson being closed, east and westbound lanes, is it's an expressway. It's actually the only expressway in Turlock, and both lanes would have been closed. In discussions with fire specifically, this is something that would limit emergency services greatly, and it was just a decision we didn't feel comfortable making at the time due to how many thousands of residents would be impacted on that day for that extended period of time. Furthermore, there were other issues with traffic. The soccer arena would have been affected. There were soccer games that were occurring during that same weekend. And through the decision that we made collectively, it was, at this time, a no for public safety reasons.
All right, thank you so much for that background. Appreciate it. And I think that I can kind of just tell by the demeanor, I think that you guys can continue to have these robust conversations, and with these hurdles, you guys can hopefully work out with time some of those issues and hopefully get to that point, or maybe not. But I do know in the meantime, I did reach out to Turlock Scavenger, and you mentioned a weed-filled street, but they were happy to do a sweep, an extra sweep with their crews ahead of time to make sure that that stretch is cleaned up and putting our best foot forward. Yes, I know it's developed on one side versus the other, but I think that for now, hopefully the council decides to proceed with this, but we'll make sure it's as clean as possible. And you guys can continue having those conversations and make sure that we're keeping our community safe, but also trying to meet your objectives.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for that hard work. Is there any questions or comments from the council or the audience at this time on this item? Okay, bringing it back, what is the pleasure, any additional question or comments, or what's the pleasure of the council on this item? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Vice Mayor Jacobs, seconded by Councilmember Dehart. Clerk, please call the roll.
Determining the closure of Sandstone Street between Mountain View Road and Tegner Road between Sandstone Street and Golden Oak Court for the Pittman Preview of Champions Band Review hosted by Pittman High School Band Boosters is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act (CEQA) in accordance with Section 15304, minor alterations to land of the CEQA guidelines. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember Dehart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak? Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisett?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. And what's the pleasure on the second resolution?
Advance.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Dehart, second by Councilmember Scare. Clerk, please call the roll.
Approving a special event permit application for the Pittman Preview of Champions Band Review hosted by Pittman High School Band Boosters, authorizing the associated closure of Sandstone Street between Mountain View Road and Tegner Road between Sandstone Street and Golden Oak Court for pedestrian safety on Saturday, September 29, 2018, from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., and authorizing the city manager to apply appropriate conditions and restrictions on the street closure. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember Dehart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak? Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisett?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for your hard work and bringing this forward, and we look forward to seeing all the bands come into town. It'll be great. Moving on to item B, a request to rescind resolution number 2017-300 and adopt a new resolution approving the memorandum of understanding between the City of Turlock and Turlock Management Association Public Safety and appropriate $222,842. Kelly Jacobs Hunter.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. The item before you is the new MOU that we've come to agreement with TMAPS, which is the Turlock Management Association Public Safety. Those are your public safety managers. The negotiating team came to agreement given the authority that you provided. So the item before you is to rescind the old resolution and adopt the new MOU. It will cover the fiscal year of that just started July 1st through June 30th of 19. And that's due to the 1 year, once again, is due to the opener we have for healthcare in January. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for Director Jacobs Hunter? How about from the audience? Seeing none, bringing it back. What's the pleasure of the council on this item?
Advance, Mayor.
I do have one comment.
Oh, yes. Mr. Bates, please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Brad Bates, resident, Turlock. I just had a question, kind of peripheral, and it's about the California Public Employee Retirement System and its relation to the city of Turlock. I think most of us would recognize the name of Dan Walters. Dan was a columnist. I looked up his bio with the Sacramento Bee for 33 years, and he's written 9,000 columns on California local and statewide politics. And a lot of those columns have been written about CalPERS. Basically, CalPERS is funded at 69% of adequacy, which means it's 30% underfunded. That in dollars is $168 billion with a B of unfunded liability. Now, according to Dan Walters, he says it's an almost absolute certainty that CalPERS will come to California cities, including Turlock, sometime in the future. And that shortfall is not going to be small. This is something that came from one of his columns, but I'm going to have to ask Ms. Hunter if, again, just to reconfirm, because you're in that arena. He said that in simple terms, of $1 of payroll, 50 cents currently goes to CalPERS. They are projecting that $1 of payroll will go to 75 cents. Now think about that. $1 of payroll, 50 cents to the retirement system, going up, is my math correct, 50%? I didn't do well in math, but I think I got that one. So my question is just this: does Turlock have a contingency plan? Because if we don't, and this scenario that Dan Walters and others is presenting, it would leave us as a city in a situation of basically staring at an abyss called bankruptcy or insolvency and wondering if we're going to fall in. So my question would be, has the city of Turlock discussed a contingency for the possibility and what some people are calling the likelihood of these unfunded liabilities being brought to us?
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Director Jacobs Hunter, if you want to speak to that, and perhaps
Yes.
also when we take opportunities to try and pay off some of that.
Yes,
debt
correct.
first.
That is very true, Mr. Bates. In the public safety, it is 50 cents of every dollar payroll. We do, the city does contribute to retirement on public safety. It is lower on our miscellaneous employees. The city of Turlock back in 15-16 took action and paid some of our unfunded liabilities in our public safety fund to lower our annual contributions to PERS. That helped. We avoided 7.5% in interest on that. They call them side funds. On those side funds, we do continue to prepay our contributions every year, and we get a little over a 3% discount by paying up front. And so that's a big advantage because we're not really earning that on our investments. So it's a good trade-off. It just, as we've talked about before, you have to have cash flow to be able to make that large expenditure. We're getting ready to do that next week to prepay PERS for fiscal year 18-19, which basically means we upfront all of our contributions in order to get that 3.5% discount. We have budgeted and planned through fiscal year 2021 with all the information that PERS has provided to us as a local agency through our actuarials. They have given us an idea of what our rates will be for miscellaneous and for the public safety and PEPRA. We have budgeted that percentage in any forecasts that we provide to you. So as far as for the next couple years, which, for now that's all they really give us. And yes, Mr. Bates, I lose sleep at night a lot over PERS, but I've also have this type of information about PERS has been, for the last 20 years. So, I hope that they don't come to all the cities and the other agencies that are members and expect that, but we plan as far ahead as we can with the information that we have that we know is correct, so.
Well, I want to just thank you, Director Jacobs Hunter. Yeah, we have worked hard to make sure the planning is there, but that's also a continuous conversation, and with the new city manager coming in, and us going back through budgets, going back through policy directives, we will be looking at this one more time. So, Mr. Bates, anyone else from the audience or watching should definitely come to those budget workshops and those different workshops.
And we will see with the adoption of PEPRA, that was in 4 or 5 years ago. Any new employees that are considered PEPRA employees, meaning they're not classic members, our contribution rates are much less.
Okay.
So as the people like me, the classic members, we retire out, then hopefully maybe you'll hire a PEPRA employee, and the contributions are less. But there's still theories on that the new members are paying less in than the old members. So what's going to happen when it comes time to? So it's kind of like Social Security.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? Did I answer the?
Any other questions for Director Jacobs Hunter or anything on this item? Anyone from the audience? All right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Closing public participation. Comment from. Yeah.
Thank you very much for staying on top of this whole thing for us. Mr. Bates brings up a very good point that, PERS is, as diligently as they have, certainly directed investments towards that obligation. They are insufficient. That's why they're at 69 cents on the dollar instead of $1 on the dollar. Every single California city is facing the same dilemma that Mr. Bates has brought up about Turlock. I had the opportunity to testify before the PERS board last November. We were talking about discount rates on those investments and what the contributions needed to be. And frankly, it's bleak. Should they come to our fair city or any other fair city close by, we're all going to be in the same boat. I don't know that they would necessarily force an immediate true up or pay up, but you know, anytime you have a board that's unelected, uncontrolled, make decisions on their own, it's really a concern. So I think we just need to be aware. We need to continue to make the moves that make sense policy-wise in terms of prepaying what we can. Why incur additional debt on debt? It just doesn't make sense. But at the same time, we need to make decisions that benefit our employees, that adequately compensate them, and that's our job. I hesitate to put it in the arena of a delicate dance. That's exactly what it is. What do we do? How do we do that? How do we move the shells about to ensure that people are adequately covered? And I think that my experience before that board was very telling. That morning or that afternoon, I was one of 60 city officials, elected or otherwise, that took the opportunity to testify before that board. It was not a comfortable situation because you could tell that they were just looking for every opportunity to, well, that speaks to their motivation. I'm not going to do that anymore. But it is bleak. But we need to continue to make those decisions, and I think that as we do so, we're going to be on more solid ground.
PERS did, when they lowered their discount rate, and then they came back to the agencies and also told us that our UAL, our unfunded asset liability, that they were going to amortize it over 20 years instead of 30 years. They did this within the last year. And of course, there were a lot of local agencies that went and testified and, had stated, this will put us in bankruptcy. We will not be able to now, instead of paying your home mortgage over 30 years, hey, you got to pay it 20 years, same amount of interest. So they have come up with a program. The forms are not out yet. The applications to, if a community, a city, a member agency wants to continue on the 30-year amortization, they can. We had, when we did our budgets and stuff, we planned for the 20. So, but we will bring that back to council once the formal program is issued. All they did was issue one of their bulletins saying, yes, they've made this decision based on these member agencies coming and saying, hey, this will force us, off the cliff. So when I get more information, we can look at that and see. So that's it.
All right. Yes.
Just a quick comment. I also attended California League of Cities legislative day in Sacramento, and one of the topics that we discussed was the upcoming impending dilemma that you're talking about, Mr. Bates. And part of the problem, the way we addressed this to all our representatives that we could get in to see. I think we saw 7 that day. And we actually got to walk into their offices and talk about this and trying to get some kind of help from the house up there. And apparently part of the problem is that, and I don't really fully understand exactly how they do it, but apparently their options for reinvesting their money, PERS, is one of the problems why they're short funded. I guess they're restricted in certain investments that they can or can't make. Eventually it's going to come back on us, and we see it coming, but hopefully we are trying to get ahead of it.
If there's no other comments, what's the pleasure of the council? For both, should I have a second? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes. Someone else from the audience?
Would you indulge me just
just a minute. Yeah, come on up. No, for all the followers that you know, you got a fan club watching, Mr. Bates. Come on.
Soundbites.
Okay.
And again, we're just sharing information. I'm not trying to stir things up. But I guess my question would be, if a city such as Turlock were to pass a public safety tax, can that tax be protected from CalPERS, or does Ms. Hunter know if a city were to pass the tax and generate the revenue, can CalPERS come in and appropriate it? And I don't want to ask a leading question, but according to Dan Walters in one of his columns, he basically said, cities, if you propose a public safety tax, you had best tell your citizens that CalPERS will likely take it. And if you don't represent that to your citizens, you're going to have a very, very difficult time. I don't know if that is factually true, but since it was in Dan Walters' column, it's something that you really need to take into consideration if we begin to talk about the possibility of a public safety tax. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. If there's no other comments or questions, I'll bring it back. We have a motion by Councilmember DeHart for both resolutions. Do I have a second? I hear a second. Second by Vice Mayor Jacob. Clerk, please call the roll.
Rescinding resolution number 2017-300 and adopting a new resolution approving the memorandum of understanding between the City of Turlock and Turlock Management Association Public Safety covering the period of July 1, 2018 through June 30, 2019, appropriating $222,842 to fiscal year 2018-2019 salary and benefit accounts from Fund 110 General Fund Unallocated Reserves due to the adoption of the Memorandum of Understanding with the Turlock Management Association Public Safety covering the period of 7/1/18 through 6/30/19. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Mayor Soisek?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to item C. We do have a green sheet for this item. Request to direct the city manager to impose the adopted fee for residential street closure permits for applications associated with the 2018 National Night Out event, or direct the city manager to fully subsidize the adopted residential street closure permit fee for applications associated with 2018 National Night Out event through an appropriation from Fund 110 General Fund Unallocated Reserves and appropriate $520. Mr. Bray.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Before you tonight, staff is seeking direction on the recent fees that were passed on May 8th. And in particular, the fees associated with the traffic plan control review, specifically for the National Night Out event. The city has traditionally provided road closure permits.
Hey, Mr. Brett, can you stop for just 1 second? We
Yes.
lost Councilmember Bublak.
Sorry about that.
That's
We'll have
okay.
you start from the top. She submitted the green sheet, so I just want to make sure she's here for the
Hi, this is Amy. Please leave a message.
Sorry about that.
My apologies.
Yeah, if it doesn't work on this one, we'll do it quick. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Things were going too smooth.
I needed the practice for that intro.
Right.
Councilmember Bublak, are you on the line?
I am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, staff is seeking direction on imposing an adopted fee for a residential street closure permit for the National Night Out event. The city has traditionally provided residential road closure permits to local residents at their request for the purpose of neighborhood gatherings and block parties. The purpose of the closure is to provide a safe space for neighborhood gatherings free of vehicular traffic. And the purpose of the permit is for the city to have the ability to manage which streets are being closed, provide direction for the appropriate traffic control to be used, and also to manage the risk the city bears by closing down the road. Traditionally, there have been no fees associated with this permit. As you may remember, on May 8th, this city council decided to pass the updated engineering fee structure, which identified the cost recovery fee for city staff to review the traffic control plans at a fee of $65 per application. Staff has received comments from Councilmember Bublak regarding there are members in the community that have expressed concern over the fee, and so staff wanted to bring this item before the council to talk about a couple different solutions. The first option is directing the city manager to impose the fees as they were established at May 8th in the engineering fee study. The second option is to direct the city manager to subsidize the fees entirely through a general fund contribution. And I believe there is a green sheet for a third option, and I will let Councilmember Bublak speak to that.
Okay. Councilmember Bublak, are you there?
Sure, thank you guys. So what I don't understand, this is a city sanctioned event, and we're asking people to help our police department, and in turn, we're going to charge them. And as Mr. Bray said, we've never charged before. So it's a new fiscal year, and it doesn't make sense to me that we can't use the city manager's funding or take it out of our travel, but to take it out of the general fund is unacceptable. But I don't think we should be asking people to participate in the city function and then have to pay for it.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think you're going to find any dissension from this council that I think that this is something we want to encourage people to participate in. And the last fee structure did capture these road closures, these traffic studies, correct?
Correct, yeah, they're there to develop and review traffic control plans.
Correct, absolutely. So in discussions with our city attorney, Kate Cook, just about what we can do, like can we just make National Night Out just specifically exempt or whatnot from these fees, she just kind of talked about equity and different things, so I'd like her to speak to this point.
Sure. I mean, for this one event, I mean, the options that staff has laid out before you are definitely appropriate to put some general fund money aside and use that to cover the cost of the fees. But going forward, it's, I think, a good idea maybe to come back and talk about options just in general, how you want to treat these types of events or nonprofit events or that kind of thing. Because the one key hurdle that you have with fees is that the fee you do charge people for this can't subsidize, waivers elsewhere. The fee has to just cover the exact time that staff's using to do that review necessary. That's why they came up with $65. I'm guessing that's a portion of some staff members' time.
It was based on an estimate, a reasonable estimate of time spent on
Right.
These activities.
So there's general fund option, that's an option. Councilmember Esker also, I think, has another idea of just seeking donations from private folks. That's another option to cover the fees. But if you do, in the future, come up with options for waiving some but not the others, that can get a little sticky. You have to have sort of equal criteria, because then there's opportunities to play favorites and you get put in a bad spot and it, legal questions come up, so.
Right, so for perhaps, like, for example, city-sanctioned parades or other
Right.
things that we come in contact with where we don't waive those fees?
Right, you could have during the budget process, you could set aside a pile of money, city events, and you decide up front you're going to cover these events, and that coverage includes not just your regular staff time associated with that events, but the permit applications that come in for the events.
And to give a little background too, historically, the engineering department division has not had a fee structure that identified these different levels, and so that's why it has now been identified. These are activities that we are doing in order to capture all of our costs. Those have been identified, and staff does not have the ability to waive any of those fees, and so that's why they're brought forth back here.
Okay, thank you. All right, yes, Councilmember Scare.
Yes, I had also sent some emails to Nathan to try to get some information. And yeah, I was not in favor of the general fund funding this either. But the question, it seemed like the resolution was put into place after these applications came through, or did the applications come through before the resolution or after? That was
yeah. So some applications did come through before the council decided to impose or adopt the new fee schedule, and so those applications that we received either before it was adopted or before we were able to update any of our forms, we have not charged those applications. So they came in under the old rate, under the old structure. So this really is to cover any additional applications that we receive moving forward.
And that was one of the problems that I saw, is you're gonna have 7 applications came through, and if you get 2 or 3 more, the first 7 aren't gonna be charged, and then the next 3 would be charged under the new resolution. And I'm thinking, well, that's gonna create a can of worms as well. Now, I'm not really sure where, now our travel fund, is that not also general fund money? Is it a general fund?
The answer is yes.
I believe.
So even if we used our travel funds,
Correct.
that's still coming out of the general fund. So to me, that's still in the same boat. I would be more in favor of putting a little bit more work into this and trying to come up with a solution for the future. But for this particular year, I would like to give me a couple of weeks to come up with some donations to pay the $500. I will kick in $100 personally myself.
Okay. So, okay, thank you for the clarification. We'll wait for that motion after we hear it. I'll come back to you. Is there any comments from the audience on this item? All right, bringing it back real quick. I saw it. So no more. Yeah, Councilmember DeHart.
Yeah, I'm real concerned about our concern about $195. Well, the first 7 weren't charged, the next 3 maybe. And so I think anytime we become preoccupied with saving $195, we need to have a different discussion. I think that, as has already been discussed somewhat, any event that is city-sponsored, such as the Christmas parade, the 4th of July parade, so on and so forth, those events, is somebody paying fees for the closure of West Main at every intersection? Is that what goes on? Or is it $65 for the whole parade? Or do we know?
For the parade, I believe that was handled through the special permit, special event application. There was not a separate traffic control plan review for every one of those locations.
And I guess I would submit that the National Night Out, as the name would imply, is national in scope. It's more than just city-sponsored. We have encouraged our citizens to open up their communities, their individual neighborhoods, to have a focus on safety issues, on how to prevent break-ins, how to be a better neighbor, so on and so forth. Our public safety people, fire, police, dispatchers, animal control, everybody under the sun has thrown their support into this event. And we have an extremely successful event citywide every single year, and it continues to grow. It just seems to me that this needs to be a city-sponsored event, not unlike, and whether we call it a special permit, whatever we call it, if anybody has already paid their $65, I would be an advocate of returning the $65 because it's counter to what we're attempting to generate in the neighborhood. It just seems to make sense to me. So.
I agree, and I think that I agree with my colleagues and Councilmember Bublak in that I don't want to use general funds, and so since travel dollars are general funds, once you don't use them, they go back to the general fund reserve. I think that's probably not the best option. I'd like the idea of giving it 2 weeks until our July 26th meeting. We can bring it back to see how successful we've been. National Night Out is August date? 7th or 8th? Okay, so perfect. So we have the 26th, and we can judge that. So from now, I think that if we allow these permits to come through and not charge, I'm looking kind of at the city attorney right now. Until, do you have to charge right away, or can you give us 2 weeks, or how process them, or how does that work?
I would defer to the city attorney.
I think that you guys could get something like you could have we could just add like a quick statement perhaps to the form of, payment may be accepted, following. Typically they pay fees up front,
They
I'm
do
assuming.
typically, yeah.
But we could have just a really quick something added to the application that covers the situation and just
It acknowledges that if donations come in, the fee will be, the best scenario would be to collect the fee and then return it once the donations come in. But I'm sure we can find a creative way to help, put a pause on that up front and just have them sign something that says they may have to pay if the donations don't cover. Yeah.
Yes.
I would just not want to do that because it might deter a block from actually having an event. So if there's some expectation that they might have to pay on the back end or something, isn't that what we're trying to avoid? So
Basically, here's to the public, we're breaking it down. There's a long-term solution that we need to address, and that's when we come back through and we go through the budget and we actually have a pot of money that's set aside for this. I think that's just what we need to do, or we could try and find sponsors that are specific to these permits. But what we're trying to do is make sure blocks get opened, or closed, excuse me, in this interim. I like the idea of attempting it for the 2 weeks, and so I don't know if there's easily, just a disclaimer that could be.
Yeah, so I have an idea. Could the city council choose to allocate general fund dollars to cover the permit costs up front, and have donations accepted to backfill any of those?
Yeah. Would that be acceptable to you? So.
By the way, I made it also very clear to Nathan, this was a one-time offer, and I'm not gonna do it every year.
Yeah. Backfill.
But that is acceptable.
That seems like a great solution, legal solution. The attorney is shaking her head, saying she'll return. Council member, would you entertain that motion then, that we're accepting, we're gonna be allocating $520 to account, basically option B, the motion and then the resolution, but with the addition that says, but will be backfilled with donations that are sought between now and National Night Out?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second on that? Okay, you have a second? Okay, perfect. Is that amenable to engineering?
That makes sense to
And it's
me,
legal?
yeah.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Scare, second by Vice Mayor Jacob. Clerk, you got that?
Give me 2 seconds. I think I will.
She'll read it back.
Okay, before we take a vote, let's just make sure that I have this correctly. So the motion will indicate directing the city manager to fully subsidize the adopted residential street closure permit fee for applications associated with the 2018 National Night Out event through an appropriation from Fund 110 General Fund Unallocated Reserves, but will be backfilled with donations sought for the National Night Out event before the event occurs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that right?
And then before we go on, I want to acknowledge and thank Councilmember Bublak for offering this green sheet. And but I think that this is a good solution going forward. And then we'll have this robust discussion in probably a month or so with the new city manager. All right.
And then we also
Yes.
have a resolution action, Mayor, to appropriate the $520. So would you like to add that same language to the
Correct.
resolution?
Sorry, I'm not the one that made the motion.
Very good. So we have a motion by Councilmember Scare, and do we have a second yet?
Seconded by Vice Mayor Jacob, actually. Are you good with that? Good, he's good with it. All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Directing the city manager to fully subsidize the adopted residential street closure permit fee for applications associated with the 2018 National Night Out event through an appropriation from Fund 110 General Fund Unallocated Reserves, but will be backfilled with donations sought for the National Night Out event before the event occurs, and appropriating $520 to account number 110-10112-47456 National Night Out Street Closure from Fund 110 General Fund Unallocated Reserves to fully subsidize the cost to applicants for residential street closure permits associated with the 2018 National Night Out event, but will be backfilled with donations sought for the National Night Out event before the event occurs. Councilmember Esquer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dehart,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak.
Yes, and I also donate $100.
All right, we're up
Thank
to
you.
2.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Mayor Soyset.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to staff updates. We have none, but we have a written update from Development Services Department, which is within our agenda. And then Fire Department, I believe you have a quick update on fireworks and the calm state of City of Turlock during 4th of July.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Was asked to give a quick, update on the holiday operational period we experienced this last 4th of July. So the period would include from June 28th to July 6th, which corresponds with the dates that the firework booths were opened. During that time, the fire department did respond to 2 building fires within the city, 3 vehicle fires, 8 grass, rubbish, or fence fires, as well as 4 mutual aid assist fires to the county, surrounding county, who were also busy during that time. At least 3 of the grass fires were directly attributable to fireworks, whether legal or illegal. The others were undetermined. I can't really comment on the building fires at this time as they're still going through the investigation process. In addition, in the past few days since the fireworks booths have closed, we've also continued to see an uptick in fire activity throughout the city. We had another one this morning. But this is in line with the activity in the previous years. This is generally our busier time of the year. We see more grass fires, more fence fires, things like that. Also, during the past 2 weeks, fires either confiscated or citizens have dropped off at the fire station several packages of illegal fireworks, which we will dispose of, although it does appear to be a noticeable decrease from the previous years that we have been able to either confiscate or people have turned in. I think a major reason for that was on the 4th of July, just right after the fireworks concluded at CSU Stanislaus, we did get a multi-alarm residential structure fire on West Main that tied us up from about 10 a.m. till 2 a.m. So that would be the time, we heard them going off, but we couldn't really do much about it. So it just kind of happened that way. So with that, if you have any questions or want more information, I'd be happy to either research it or answer the questions now.
No, thank you so much. Any questions or comments? No, thank you for giving that report. All right. We have no other updates from any other departments. Matters to relate for the agenda, non-agenda items. Looking to city manager and city attorney. Seeing none, council items for future consideration. Looking left. Yes, Councilmember Dehart.
I have 2, Mayor. As things occurred in 2008, the Central Valley Division Executive Committee voted to suspend the monthly fee for the Central Valley Division contributions of cities to fund the speakers and the activities surrounding that division. After a discussion here a month ago, and I apologize, I should have had this prepared for last get-together, they have supplied a request or offered a request to begin collecting those dues again. $500 a month would be Turlock's contribution, and I'll be bringing or requesting that that be brought forward for consideration at a future date. Sooner rather than later, perhaps we could discuss that. Secondly, also, as Supervisor Chiesa has eloquently stated, we've got some wonderful opportunities in terms of projects related to SB1, and we just have a real risk here of losing funding with an effort at the state level now to place on the ballot a repeal of that bill. Had the opportunity to testify on that as well up at the state. I think loss of those funds, I think, would be catastrophic for both Turlock and surrounding. They've asked that if we are so inclined to pass resolution, pass that on to the legislature with respect to supporting the effort against the repeal. So your yes is your no and your no is your yes. But in any case, to repeal SB1 would be catastrophic for us and in terms of those funds. So I'll be bringing that forward, or recommending that we bring that forward as well.
Okay, thank you. Just some items left and right. Councilmember Bublak? Oh, sorry.
Yes, actually, I wanted to talk about what Mr. Franzen had mentioned. I think that it's important that we look into the solutions, potential solutions he suggested earlier, the staff, and see if we can come up with some ways to compete with cities and limited contractors with it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councilmember Scare.
Yeah, just briefly, I want to give a quick update on the ad hoc committee for the cannabis research that Councilman DeHart, you, and I have been working on. We've gone on a couple of tours, several actually, and we're getting to a point where we're under the, we want to suggest maybe a workshop in the near future. We don't have anything specific as far as dates yet, but we're thinking about doing an actual workshop and having presentations for the community to come in and weigh in. So, but anyway, we're still working on it.
Perfect. I think as an ad hoc committee on this topic, you guys, whatever meetings you need to schedule, again, we can make them Brown Act compliant if you want us all to be there, or you guys keep doing your homework, whatever you'd like. So, great. Any additional items or comments? How about comments? Anything? All right, seeing none, closed session items. City Attorney, what do we have?
We have conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation under Government Code 54956.9D2. Potential cases listed are 3. We also have a conference with labor negotiators, Government Code 54957.6A, and the designated representative from the city is the interim city manager. The employee organizations listed are Turlock Associated Police Officers, Turlock City Employee Association, Turlock Firefighters Association Local 2434, and Turlock Management Association Public Safety. Item 13C is public employee appointment under Government Code 54957B1, the employee title, city attorney. And D, conference with labor negotiators. Again, for the city attorney, I will be recusing from item C and D, obviously.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Before we close, this is the last meeting of the interim city manager being the interim city manager. He's going back to fire chief. And so I just wanted to say, on behalf of the city and from the entire city staff, thank you so much for filling in for the greater part of this last year and keeping progress moving forward with the city of Turlock. Thank you so much, and we're looking forward to seeing you as chief again. So let's give him a round of applause for this. All right. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
So moved.
All right. We have a motion by Councilmember DeHart, second by Councilmember Scare. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned to closed session. I heard you, Amy. All right. Thanks.